Former President Donald Trump is challenging the FBI's Mar-a-Lago search.
This comes as we learn just how severe his situation may be. New reports indicate hundreds of classified records were obtained from the former president since January. CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa has more.
2 weeks after the FBI search of his Mar-a-Lago home, former President Trump is asking a federal court in Florida to stop federal investigators from reviewing the documents taken until a special master or a third-party attorney can be appointed. In the legal filing, he also requests that the FBI return any documents that went beyond the scope of the search warrant.
A special master would be almost like an extra judge to take an independent look at those.
The filing also reads as a political pitch ahead of a possible run in 2024, in which Trump's lawyers make unsubstantiated claims of investigators being partisan, saying law enforcement cannot be used as a weapon for political purposes, and go on to say that the matter at hand involves not only the constitutional rights of President Trump, but also the preservation of executive privilege. National security lawyer Bradley Moss.
And by admitting this is really all just about executive privilege, Donald Trump is admitting these are official records, not personal records. This filing was all about trying to shore up his position with the Republican base and hoping that no one notices it's not properly constructed. Is going to get slammed by the judge.
So far, a U.S. official tells CBS News that the Justice Department has retrieved at least 150 classified documents from the boxes Trump handed over to the National Archives earlier this year. And the New York Times reports that since federal agents re-engaged with Trump's legal team this summer and then searched his home, that number has climbed, with more than 300 documents with classified markings obtained by the Justice Department.
I personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant in this matter.
The Justice Department released this statement after the motion was filed Monday, saying the search was authorized by a federal court upon the required finding of probable cause, while the former president continued to rail against the search he called a break-in.
All he knows is to throw things at the wall and to try to file various motions or lawsuits to try to delay things. It's worked for him in the past. What the problem he's got here is it's a criminal investigation. A grand jury has been convened. Federal prosecutors already had to get a search warrant for his property. That's something he's never faced before.
Robert Costa, thank you.
For more, let's bring in CBS News political director Finn Gomez. Hi there, Finn. So we heard in Robert's piece this term special master. Can you explain further what a special master is and how former President Trump's team could benefit from having one appointed?
Yeah, absolutely. A special master is essentially a third-party independent arbiter that the Trump team has requested to review the classified materials that were taken by federal investigators. But the special master specifically almost works like as an extra judge, an independent party to review it, separate from the federal court magistrate, separate from the federal court judges. So it's in specifically what I have spoken to people both in the Trump camp and also critics of Trump believe that this is something that could be used to delay the process within the legal processes here. So it's something that we're watching and something we're continuing to follow.
That's interesting, Finn. I wonder who would potentially benefit from delaying the process, particularly as a federal judge in Florida is deciding whether to release that redacted version of the affidavit that led to the FBI search of the Mar-a-Lago estate. What do you think we may be learning from that affidavit? How will its release impact the investigation into the former president? And would the president, or would the former president rather, be benefited by a delay?
Yeah, and the process here is that, and the people again that I've spoken to said that the delay could, specifically, it could be something that could slow down the process. It could also something that this could fuel in that same filing by Trump's legal team, which almost it reads like a post on Trump's social media post. It declares him the presidential frontrunner in the Republican presidential race. It declares him it shows him as this political person who can really impact with his endorsements, but at the same time, it also accuses, in essence, of the investigators of having political reasons for the investigation. And a person that I spoke to just a little while ago, close to Trump, says that this by moving this to an independent arbiter, it could help frame the argument that it is politically as motivated as the former president claims, unsubstantiatedly, I may add.
Interesting. Well, Finn, as you know, there has been a lot of buzz, some of it generated by the former president himself, that he could make another bid for the White House. Are there indications that the GOP would still be willing to support the former president as this investigation develops?
That's a great question. Actually, sources, again, that I've spoken to who are close to Trump say that, yes, the president feels emboldened politically by the reaction from the Republican Party, within the Republican Party, even by some of his potential 2024 rivals who have come to his defense, who have circled the wagons around him because of this. But we have spoken to, CBS News has spoken to top Republicans within the party and why they still believe that the former president, is the Republican presidential frontrunner right now if he decides to run. The investigations, including the one related to the search right behind me at his Mar-a-Lago estate, it could have an impact. And it's sort of this wait and see approach politically to see what happens. It could also fuel the rise of potential 2024 aspirants like his former Vice President Mike Pence, like the Florida governor here, Ron DeSantis, who has raised a ton of money, who was also eyeing a potential 2024 bid. And as even the Virginia Republican Governor Youngkin, who might be someone to be keeping an eye on and who could also be a potential rival as we head into the 2024 cycle. So so politically, the Trump folk believe that he is benefiting from this, but there's also this wait and see approach to see what happens with all these investigations.
All right, Finn, thank you.